Hello everyone, this is Anna here from Anna's Fonts with a tutorial on how to use my Leaves and Twigs Font Trio and Extras collection to make a minimalist seasonal postcard. At the end of this tutorial, we will also be looking at how to easily adapt our design to create a social media post. So Leaves and Twigs is a collection of 3 handmade, handwritten fonts and 1 illustration font, which are perfect for this time of year. You can use them in gift tags, postcards, wrapping paper, and it also includes 5 paper textures and also an alternative for each font, which are fun to use and experiment with. For this tutorial, we will be using a sample portion of Leaves and Twigs, which includes 2 fonts, 1 paper texture background, 1 color blob, and 1 handmade circle. For this tutorial, we will be using Photoshop, so let's open Photoshop. These are our final results, so we're gonna keep these in mind. I'm gonna keep this image here as a reference, and we start by opening a new document. Here I use the predefined A6 dimensions from Photoshop. I changed the color mode to CMYK color because I plan on printing the postcard. And here we have the canvas for our postcard. I'm going to reduce the size because I like keeping a view of the entire design. So we keep it at 50%. I like to start with the background, so we're going to start with the red blob. So we open our sample folder, and you will see the 126 PNG file. We can drag it directly to our canvas. So this will create a smart image, which we can adjust without losing the resolution. So I adjust the dimensions, and also I rotate the image a little bit because I want it to be more on the horizontal side. But you can adjust it to your taste, so feel free to change it as you wish. You will also notice that the blob is a little more saturated. The original is a little more saturated than in my final design. So what I do is I go to Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation, and just play around with the saturation until I'm happy with the result. So in this case, I reduce it by a little bit. So the next step will be to add the text and the floral image. So for this, we go to the Type tool, and we select the font. Leaves and Twigs Floral is the font you will select for the illustrations. I find that it's easier if I select them from the glyphs panel, and you can also get an overview of all of the illustrations that are available within this font, so you can select the one that you prefer. I select this one with the berries, and then you just have to adjust the size. And place it to your taste as well. In my case, I tried to center it with the blob, but we can go back later and adjust it when we have all of the elements. So then we add the script text. This is the Leaves and Twigs 3 font. So we write our text. Feel free to send a different message, to write a different text. And we also adjust the size. Here my goal was to keep the line width in the text consistent with the line width in the illustration. So the way I made this font, the illustrations are scaled down by 4 times. So in order to get them to be around the same size, you will have to have the illustration being 4 times the point size of the script font. Just as a general rule, you can adjust it as well to your liking. Just pull up the blob a little bit to give more room to the text. And then the final step is to add this circle to the top. So for this, we open this 151 PNG. We define it as brush. We select the brush tool. We select the color. So in this case, I will keep it in black. You can add a new layer, a new empty layer up top, and you just place the circle where you want it. In this case, because we will be playing around with the placing, I will just add it to the center, transform this into a smart object. So this way I can play around with the position and the size, and I will not lose resolution of the initial resolution of the image. So I added to the top in order to balance a little bit the text in the bottom, but feel free to add it wherever you want. So if I were to print this postcard on a textured paper, I would keep it like this with the white background because it will have the texture of whatever paper you choose. But if you want to share this online, or if you want to add a little texture to it, I also include this paper texture, which is just a scan of some watercolor paper. So it's got a nice watercolor paper texture to it. You can see in the image size that it's quite a big file, so it's almost 5,000 pixels. And our postcard file is around 1,200 pixels, so I feel like this texture would be too coarse. So I start by adjusting the size, and I adjust down to 1,500. But you can see a sample of the texture, so you can choose the size depending on how coarse or fine you want your texture to be. So I just drag the texture up top, and in the layers I set the blending to multiply. So this gives it a nice subtle watercolor paper texture up top. So this is it for the postcard. Now I will show you how to quickly convert this into a social media post for Instagram. So for how to adapt this into a square design. So for Instagram, I usually use 1080 pixel by 1080 pixel. So we create a new file with these dimensions. I use RGB color. And an easy way to do it is to, after you've saved this file, just adjust the size down to 1080 or less. And this is okay because all of the image are in Smart Image, and the font you can resize, of course, how many times you want, and it's a vector, so there's no problem. So in this case, I will just drag all the layers except the top texture layer. I will drag them to the new file and just adjust the placement. Here I see that maybe the circle would look better slightly more to the right, but again, it's up to you. Maybe the fonts could be a little bigger. There's quite a lot of empty space. So now it's just a matter of adjusting. If you feel like it needs a little extra elements, I would add a couple of the smaller illustrations. So you can see that there are some smaller elements in the illustrations. So these berries might be nice. Just make sure that they're the same size as your bigger illustration. Let's just check on that. Maybe you can adjust the rotation as well a little bit. Again, it's totally up to you. And if you'd like, we can also add the texture. On top. And there we go. We have our postcard and social media post, which you can use to share with your friends digitally or on paper. Thank you so much for following along with this tutorial. If you have any questions, you can contact me, and I hope you enjoy using this sample.